Like most on Fort Myers Beach, Beach Baptist Church is looking at ways to build back stronger for the next storm.
Unfortunately, we'll have to be built up.
And the plan includes adding workforce housing. The renderings and residents' reaction coming up.
Plus, it is out. NOAA announces the 2023 hurricane forecast today and what this could mean for Southwest Florida as we all are recovering from Hurricane Ian.
And Governor Ron DeSantis brushing off tech issues as millions tuned in to his presidential announcement on Twitter Spaces last night. A look at his campaign plans as we head into the holiday weekend.
Live from Southwest Florida, this is Fox 4 News at 10.
Everything across from us is going to be built up. Everything beside us is going to be built up. And unfortunately, we'll have to be built up.
It will have to be a complete rebuild for the only church returning to Fort Myers Beach. The Beach Baptist Church tonight hosting an open house showing the church's future plans tonight. Thank you for joining us for Fox 4 News at 10 on this Thursday night. I'm Nadine Yanis.
I'm Chris Earl. The church's pastor telling Fox 4's Colton Chavez in a report from earlier this week, the rebuild involves a new condo tower that'd be right out front on Estero Boulevard. And Colton following through for you tonight, joining us live outside of Beach Baptist Church. And Colton, neighbors also invited to give their thoughts on this and what all of this could like at this mid-island parts of Fort Myers Beach.
Yeah, Chris, that's right. And we're talking about neighbors' thoughts when it comes to rebuilding Beach Baptist, which you can see behind me, and really wiping away all of this Hurricane Ian destruction that still sits here tonight. Well, that's a shared idea for everyone that I spoke with. But during a time when we're seeing big resorts like Margaritaville just down the street, it really brings with it the notion that Fort Myers Beach is changing. So some residents tell me tonight, if rebuilding the church means also rebuilding or putting condos right where I'm standing, well, that might be too much change for them right now. An open house held inside a hollowed out church to discuss the future of Beach Baptist on Fort Myers Beach.
So I drive from Lehigh and come to church every single Sunday.
The concern is, what is the overall plan?
Every person I've ever talked to would love to go back to September 27th, 2022.
But what people are talking with Pastor Sean Kritzer about during his open house is this: renderings placed along tables showing the church's plans to rebuild with workforce housing and a brand new condo tower along the front of the property on Estero Boulevard. For some,
how they have it laid out today does it justice.
Detailed plans Pastor Sean talked about during an interview with me earlier this week. Pastor Sean says the uninsured church before Hurricane Ian means partnering with a developer to build condos out front, which includes a new church for the congregation free of charge, but not free from contention.
And I understand that there's a problem with insurance, but let's be honest, even those of us who have insurance don't have any money either.
Sharon Privet says these development decisions should come from a community vote.
I would say the number one concern is something like this has to come to referendum. And the hard part is it's private property. So
others writing on comment cards their concerns over the height of the condos and the traffic impact they say it could have on Estero Boulevard. Comments that we heard earlier today.
How does this fit into what they're doing?
They constantly are feeding people every day. This is why I come to this church.
Pastor Sean, if you saw earlier in the video, he was busy throughout this meeting talking with as many people as he says he could. And the reason for that, I talked with Pastor Sean, he said he wants to be able to talk with as many people as possible and get their input because he really wants these community meetings to be a middle ground because the church is going to move forward regardless, but he wants to do it in a way that's both appealing to not only the church, but the people that call Fort Myers Beach home tonight. Live on Fort Myers Beach, Colton Chavez, Fox 4.
All right, Colton, thank you. And as Colton just showed us, some of the hardest hit communities are still rebuilding 8 months after Hurricane Ian as we approach the next hurricane season. June 1st now just days away.
NOAA announcing its forecast for the 2023 hurricane season, calling it near normal. Fox 4's certified meteorologist Katie Walls joins us to explain what exactly this means. But as we noted, and you said this earlier, all it takes is just one.
That's right. All it takes is one. Last year technically was average by standards as well. We had 14 named storms, and There you go. We had Ian. So a couple of different factors. First, we're going to talk about what went into the forecast. First off, an El Nino is expected to develop August, September, and October during the peak of hurricane season. Typically, that would lessen the number of storms. However, we do have abnormally warm sea surface temperatures as well as a lot of ocean heat content. So that means we're going even deeper into the ocean just to see how hot it is, and that can help to fuel those storms. So unfortunately, those two factors kind of offset each other. So as of now, NOAA is expecting a near average season, but like we said, all it takes is one. So in a typical season, we have 14 named storms. Of those, we see 7 that become hurricanes, 3 of which become major. The current forecast, 12 to 17 named systems. Of those, 5 to 9 are expected to become hurricanes, and of those, 1 to 4 are expected to become major. That is fairly close also to what the Colorado State University forecasters are expecting as well. There's one wave of energy we are watching right now. However, it's not going to be a threat to Florida. This will produce some spotty weather, some gusty winds, rip currents for the Carolina coastline this weekend, but as of right now, the tropics are nice and quiet here across southwest Florida. Our biggest concern, of course, will be for more storm development for tomorrow afternoon. I'll have that timing coming up.
Thanks a lot, Katie. And as we all get set for the upcoming hurricane season, state and local officials reminding all of us of the steps to take ahead of the next major storm. Florida Senator Rick Scott was in Fort Myers tonight alongside the Lee County Sheriff's Office as well as leaders from Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel to talk about the importance of planning ahead. And this also includes stocking up on the essential supplies and also knowing your evacuation route. Officials are also pointing to those lessons learned from Hurricane Ian, like just how devastating the storm surge can be.
So whether it's 6 feet, 9 feet, 12 feet, 15 feet, you're not going to survive it. So when you see that there's going to be a big storm surge, do not take a chance.
Also the chance to save some money over Florida's disaster preparedness sales tax holiday. It starts up Saturday, goes through June the 9th, which means no sales tax on some of these supplies like generators, flashlights, radios, tarps, and batteries.
And even the smaller storms can cause a lot of damage, especially this year. Our community so vulnerable after Ian. We actually saw this yesterday after strong winds from a thunderstorm hit Hendry County, causing damage to a nursing home. Take a look. Bad enough that residents had to be evacuated from this as well. Now, officials at the Clewiston Nursing and Rehabilitation Center describing the damage today, saying the winds lifted the roof and then set it back down. The Red Cross says around 100 residents at the nursing home were evacuated and had to be sent to a temporary shelter at the John Boy Auditorium on Owen Avenue overnight. They then say the residents were transferred to nearby nursing home facilities. Clewiston nursing home leaders say roof repairs are already underway.
Safety is our top priority, so we will get it done as quickly as possible.
Yeah, those nursing home officials do say that all the residents and staff are now safe. Thankfully, no one was hurt in all of this.
The launch of Governor Ron DeSantis' presidential campaign through Twitter Spaces gained the attention of millions yesterday, but maybe for the unintended reason, as tech issues hindered the liftoff. Now DeSantis has a plan to try to reach early primary states in the coming week. The campaign announced what it's calling our Great American Comeback Tour, starting on Tuesday. 12 cities in 4 days throughout Iowa, South Carolina, New Hampshire, all to make it clear in his focus to close that polling gap between DeSantis and the rest of the field, all behind former President Donald Trump, who announced back in November he was running again. The governor also did a dozen radio and TV interviews today. The lieutenant governor also pitched DeSantis as a winner.
We don't want to be stuck in the past. We don't want a candidate that can't win the general election. We want someone that has the results, that has the courage, that has shown that he could get things done.
The governor's super PAC called Never Back Down is also ready to start up, with the group setting goals to raise $200 million. And also use half for voter outreach in early primary states, hiring 2,600 field organizers by Labor Day.
And it is no doubt Southwest Florida and the governor's response to Hurricane Ian could play a role in his presidential campaign, specifically building back bridges. That bridge connecting Pine Island to the mainland could become a focal point, as he has already touted its reopening as an example of his leadership in the days after Ian. The Pine Island Bridge actually washed away in Hurricane Ian, but it was just rebuilt in 3 days. Business owners there that we spoke with today on Matt Lachey say they still remember how grateful they felt that day when those essential vehicles could cross the bridge again. But other business owners on Pine Island say that now they feel forgotten.
I think I could talk to 100 customers that would say the same thing. It's like the storm passed, we're what, 6 months later, people like me are still technically homeless. I have friends that are just now getting electricity in their house.
So Governor DeSantis says permanent bridge repairs are happening now. They will be done in the fall at an estimated cost of $25 million. Well, Fox 4 is following through for you on this hit and run that was caught on camera. Tonight, we are now hearing from Cape Coral Police, asking you for any tips in finding this driver who, as you see here, covered up the license plate before taking off. So we first brought you this story last night on Fox 4 News at 10, speaking to that teenage driver, Isabella Cruz, who was rear-ended. Cruz says that's when she tried to record what happened when the other driver grabbed what looked like to be a towel or a blanket out of the trunk to cover up the plate and then took off. Cape Coral Police now tell us on top of hit and run charges here, officers can issue a non-moving violation if they see that license plate is covered up. Cape Coral Police now asking anyone with information on who this driver is to call Crime Stoppers, 1-800-780-TIPS. Well, coming up as we look to improve Southwest Florida's water quality after Ian, Charlotte County is turning to oysters.
How more than 22 tons of dry oyster shells have the intended goal to help clean up the Charlotte Harbor.
And shopping is back to being a pleasure on Fort Myers Beach. We take you to the reopening of Publix for the first time after Ian.
And take a look at this gorgeous photo taken. It's a double rainbow as seen from Cape Coral. This is courtesy of Jesse Bates. Jesse, thank you so much for sharing this with us. And this was just one of the beautiful shots taken after those storms this afternoon. I'm expecting more of these tomorrow. We'll talk more about that timing for you next.